Oh my God! ECW is no more. Yeah, this is a rant about ECW, the wrestling company that everyone shitted on. And I'm talking about the old ECW too, as well as what happened recently with Vince McMahon ending the ECW brand. Now, this is what I feel about ECW. ECW in the beginning had a chance. It had a strong roster. It had Kurt Angle. It had RVD. It had Sabu. It had the Sandman. It had a whole bunch of things going for it. It had the Big Show. Vince McMahon knew that he was cashing on what ECW was, the legacy of the original ECW, so he decided to bring back ECW. And he brought it back originally with the idea that it would be a separate brand from Raw and SmackDown. It wouldn't even really be associated with WWE the way it seemed. But you know, they always say he was trying to hide stuff under the rug. Now, when I talk about ECW, the first thing that comes to people's heads is hardcore, bones, breaking necks, hitting people with trash cans. Yeah, ECW was a very violent wrestling company. I mean, that was one of its big draws, the hardcore essence. We want blood. But people keep forgetting that ECW also had a pure wrestling side to it as well. ECW had great wrestlers like Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho. And also ECW had a great cruiserweight lineup like Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrero, Conan. And this was before WCW whole cruiserweight division even started. Matter of fact, many people feel that Eric Bischoff, when he bought majority of all those wrestlers from ECW, he was pretty much just cashing out on what ECW had attributed to wrestling. And ECW really contributed a lot to wrestling. The Attitude Era is ECW. If you look at what Vince McMahon did with the elements from ECW and transformed it to the WWF's brand, which was known as the Attitude Era, you would see that there were a lot of things taken from what ECW was bringing to the plate. Case in point, the beer thing. Sandman used to always come to the ring drinking a beer. Hell, even smoking a cigarette. Stone Cold Steve Austin, it doesn't mean he wasn't drinking beer outside of wrestling, because we know he was, but you know, they finally added it to TV to make it, you know, marketable. Back in 1997, when ECW was trying to get its first pay-per-view started, Barely Legal, this was them working with the WWF at the time, and Vince McMahon was helping them and this and that. So I guess it was a 50-50 thing. And Vince McMahon saw what ECW was doing, so he decided to kind of morph what he was doing in the WWF, borrow, some people might blatantly say steal, some of the ideas that ECW was able to bring to the world of professional wrestling. And believe me, ECW brought a lot to the world of professional wrestling. Now, of course, we all know ECW went out of business in 2001. You know, money was not being sorted out the right way. Paul Heyman was never a businessman, but he was a great mind as it related to wrestling. When ECW went out of business, filed bankruptcy, they were bought out by the WWF. And many people felt, well, this is the end of ECW. But it was all into 2004 when ECW, the rise and fall of ECW, was released. Vince McMahon saw how much money he was making off this little DVD, because they really didn't hype it as much as people would think. I mean, I think I saw a couple of commercials for it on WWF programming for the DVD. And when they saw how much this was selling like hotcakes, Vince McMahon was like, wow. It was only until 2005, a year after the rise and fall of ECW, that Rob Van Dam and Paul Heyman got to talking and wanted to let Vince know that they would want to start kind of like a one-night stand, something like a tribute to the original ECW. Basically saying, well, Vince, the DVD made you all this money, you could at least let some of the old guys from the original ECW have one night. Now, I loved the first one-night stand. It was something that really, really stood out. It really brought that whole nostalgic feel from back in the day, and it was balls out. They really put it to the level. The wrestlers that had been made to look like a joke when they went to the WWE finally got a chance to shine, show their true ECW colors one last time. Now, the success of ECW One Night Stand 1, the first one, basically made Vince McMahon think, hey, I think I could probably, make more money off this, so let's have another One Night Stand the next year. So you had the seeds for ECW One Night Stand 2006, which was built around the whole Raw WWE versus ECW. And you know what? I liked it also. But this is where Vince McMahon really wanted to capitalize on his great mind, his wrestling mind, of how he wanted to make ECW, WWE's ECW, better and this or that. So they got it an itch that after One Night Stand would end, that ECW would have a turn deal on TV. And this is when ECW was signed to a network, the Sci-fucking-Fi network. Wrestling with being on the Sci-Fi channel, it's like having one black pea out of green peas. It didn't work. It didn't work at all. Well, the reason I felt that it was kind of not going to work was the fact that, first of all, it's ECW. It's on a network that's known for playing science fiction movies, and I love the Sci-Fi channel. But I just feel wrestling on the Sci-Fi channel, nah, bad nicks. So, as time progressed, the wrestlers started leaving, the roster started getting smaller and smaller. And as much as Vince McMahon wants to blame ECW's failure on ECW, I would beg to differ, because first of all, every time a wrestler got built into ECW, Vince McMahon simply traded them to Raw or SmackDown. So Vince McMahon, when you sit there and say ECW killed ECW, no, you killed what was left of ECW. Now, for me, the WWE brand of ECW will not be the true ECW. We all know the true ECW is the one that ended in 2001. Okay? And by the way, as far as Ezekiel Jackson being known as the ECW champion, the real ECW champion is Rhino. So Vince McMahon, that's another thing you don't have. You don't even have the original ECW title belt or the TV title. But this is my rant about ECW going out of business. This is Jughead82 signing off.
That's right. What is dead? Look around here in TNA. You've got Shane Douglas, you've got Raven, you've got Team 3D, and you've got myself. That was the heart and soul of ECW. ECW is dead, and the only thing that is left is a proper burial. Oh, you thought I was done? You thought I was done? No, I take things to the extreme. Boys and girls, we're gonna have a little fire tonight. See, I'm sick and tired of Vince McMahon profiting off of our blood, sweat, and tears. Not anymore. Not anymore. Because death to ECW. Long live TNA. And it seems like everybody wants to go out and throw an open challenge. Well, I've got an extreme challenge for you. I've got an extreme challenge. It doesn't matter who you work for, what company, whether it's a 4-sided ring, 6-sided, or 8-sided. Bring your ass to the impact zone and face me face to face, because the end result is always the same. Go!